So we're standing in front of Hovius' cabinet, a cabinet of bones collected by the Amsterdam physician Jacob Hovius in the 18th century. And Hovius' cabinet is the oldest collection here in our museum. It even predates the collection of Vrolik, from which our museum is named. Hovius collected all these bones in the middle and the late 18th century, and in 1773 he donated this collection to the Amsterdam College of Surgeons. But he had one demand for that donation, and that was that a decent cabinet was built for the collection. So that happened, and since 1773, the collection and the cabinet remained together, which is really an astonishing achievement. Hovius' collection was expanded by Andreas Bonn, who was professor of anatomy at that time. And Bonn also added Hovius' portrait to the cabinet in 1783 when Hovius had died. But Bonn did something else in 1783. He created a catalogue of the full collection of bones of Hovius and himself. In total 523 objects, and I have the catalogue here. It's called Descriptio Thesauri Osseum Morbosorum Hoviani, or in English, the description of the cabinet of diseased bones by Jacob Hovius. Sometimes these cases that he describes are very lengthy and even can be very touching because of the details that are mentioned, like case number 4, the trunk of a man with severe scoliosis. Because that specimen specifically shows you something of the life behind these, the preparation, so to say. So here we have the torso or trunk of this poor man. And of course what's really noticeable is the severe deformity of the spine. So if you move from top to bottom, you'll see that first the spine goes all the way to the right and to the back, then moves back to the center and goes to the left and to the front a bit. So in short, this man was a hunchback. So why is this case so touching? Well, if you read the text, you see that the man was disabled since his youth and that he lived on the streets like a beggar. Also, that his body was dissected publicly in the anatomical theater in 1772. And finally, that he had to sit down all the time with his legs fixed in a cross-legged position, with his knees bent, and that he could not move in any other way. What we also have, what Bonn kept in his collection, are these two knees from the same man. So in the description, Bonn says how this man sat down the whole day in a kind of cross-legged position, and you really see that if you look at these two legs, these two knees. And if you take only one of these two knees and you focus on the thickness of both the femur, the upper leg, and the tibia, the lower leg, then you really see how thin these two bones are. And of course, you can understand that because the man could not walk since he was a youngster. And of course, his legs did not develop, did not grow thicker since then, and kept a very feeble structure. So we know what his bones look like, his torso with his scoliosis and his knees, and we have the description, quite an extensive description in the catalogue. But we don't have anything else from this man. We don't know, for instance, what he looked like. But just to get an idea of that, we have to look at something else, a document that is also about Hovius' cabinet. This document, it says so in the title, Dit behoort aan het kabinet van Hovius. This belongs to Hovius' cabinet. And the document contains an illustration, so an illustration from another case, but that really shows quite a similar situation. It shows an illustration of a man with a hunchback and also knees and legs that were paralyzed. So this illustration is maybe the closest possible way we can get to an idea of this other case of scoliosis. These illustrations were made by Cornelis Pronk, who was quite a famous illustrator at the time. He made illustrations especially of buildings, so he was much more into architecture, and many of his drawings, many of his illustrations are still present in Dutch museums and also in archives. So that Pronk also made an illustration of a body prior to dissection is quite rare, I would say. And if we look at the illustration, we see not only the hunchback, and we see the knees bent and paralyzed, but we also see other aspects of this malformation. So we see that the arms and the legs, especially the feet, are bent in a specific way. And also what's really noticeable is that one illustration shows the individual with hair, and the other one, the hair is cut. So probably a step before the dissection. So the reason why we know that this illustration is not the same individual as the case that Bonn described and dissected is simple, because Pronk made his illustration in 1747, which is almost 30 years before Bonn did the dissection of the other hunchback. So the two are two different hunchbacks. But still, we can be certain that the illustrated case by Pronk is linked to other bones in the cabinet, other separate bones. And we just need to do further research to find out which specific bones are linked to this hunchback, and hopefully we maybe find out the name of this individual, or even find out the name of the individual hunchback dissected by Bonn. For now, it's important that this illustration gives us a face, so to say, to that enormous anonymous collection of bones that is the cabinet of Hovius. Thank you for watching, and if you have any questions or comments, please write them down below. And of course, please like this video and subscribe to our channel. We hope to see you next time.